This is a hip and butt padding tutorial for a 6-piece skirt. So with this method I'm going to show you in this tutorial, you will be able to pad your mermaid skirts, 8-piece skirts, 6-piece skirts, pencil skirt, in fact all kinds of skirts. You can be able to pad them perfectly. So if this is what you want to learn in this class, I will encourage you to stay till the end of this tutorial to learn how to pad all kinds of skirts. So the first thing you are going to do is to ensure you have your 6-piece skirts cut out. So if you don't know how to cut a 6-piece skirt, I'll be dropping the link on how I cut this skirt on the description box below. So what I have here is the front panel of my 6 pieces, and I have the lining cut full lining because we are going to turn it as a full lining and with a perfect inseam finishing. So I'll be teaching you how to finish up your butt and hip and butt padding with a full lining for this 6-piece skirt. So here is the back panel of this skirt. I also cut it out with a little tail at the back, and I have my full lining and the fabric as well. So all the lengths are the same for both of them. So if you don't know how to cut out your 6-piece skirt, I'll be dropping the link on the description box. So go watch how I cut this skirt before you join us in this tutorial. So the first thing you need is your patterns. You need your pattern for the front and your pattern for the back. So this is my front pattern, and there is no seam allowance added to this pattern at all. I have my waist and my hip and my knee line. So this is my center front and this is the side of the pattern. So you need to label all of this before we start up this tutorial. So for this front pattern of my skirt, the first thing I'll do is to come down by 1.5 from the waistline. Come down by 1.5 on the waistline. Then on the hip line from the side, come in by 6 inches. 6 inches. So now I want to explain how I got my line. So from the waistline, I measured my hip line at 9 inches. And then my knee line at 17 inches. So it can be 17 or 18 inches, standard for everybody. So now I came in by 6 inches and I'll come up by 2 inches from the knee line. So the next thing I'll do is to connect the 1.5 to the 6 inches on the hip line and connect the 6 inches to the 2 inches on the knee line. So here is the pattern we are going to use now to cut out the front. So just label your up and down, and then you put an arrow to the part we are going to join. So these guidelines is going to guide us on how to cut out our foam. So I'll go ahead and cut it out right now, as you can see. So next is the back pattern. So the back pattern has 1 inch zipper allowance. So you can see my waist and my hip and my knee. So the zipper allowance is 1 inch. So this is the only part you have your zip allowance. So now from the waist you will come down by 1.5 again, and on the hip line from the zipper line come in by 1 inch. On the knee line you are going to come up by 2 inches. Then we are going to take our under butt measurement. I have 13 inches. So from that on the side I'll come in by 5 inches. Okay, so you can see how I took my under butt measurement. Now we are going to connect from the 1 inch on the hip line to the 5 inches by the under butt to the 2 inches on the knee line. Then we also connect from 1.5 on the side to the hip line. So label your up and down, and then put your arrow on the side for the joining as well. So now we are done with the cutting or the drafting of the back. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to cut it out. So there is no seam allowance added. This is my actual waist, my actual hip divided by 4, and my knee measurement. I took away 2 inches from my hip, 2 inches from my hip for the knee, just the way you draft your skirt. So now I'm going to cut out my pattern, as you can see. So my pattern is ready right now. So I'll be using it to cut out my foam. So here I'm making use of 1/2 inch foam. Okay, so I cut two pieces for each of the patterns I drafted right now. So my foam size or thickness is 0.5, but I was unable to get exactly 0.5, so I just did little adjustment to my foam. So in case you did not get 0.5, you can gum up 0.25 or a smaller foam. So I'll show you how to gum it up. Like the one I have now is 0.25. So I used my uhu gum and joined it together, so it will give me a bigger foam. So it depends on the thickness of the foam you want to use. You can just pad your foam with your uhu gum. So once you gum it, it sticks for you. And here I have my 0.5 inches foam thickness right now. So here I have 0.5, as you can see. So I have cut two pieces right now for the front panel, and then the back panel I also cut two pieces. So please label your up and your down on the foam, and also put your arrow to where you are going to join the two foams together. So I'm doing this for all of the foam, so it will be easy for us to sew them together at the end of the day. So I'm going to repeat the same exercise on the other foam for the back. So here I've labeled. Make sure you have your labels, because it will guide you for the sewing of this foam. So now my foam is ready and all are labeled. So the next thing we want to do now is to cut or trim out the edges. So I'm going to trim out all the edges all around. Okay, so you can see how I'm doing that. So if you don't trim it, it's going to make your padding or your foam so bulky. So to reduce the bulky part of it, just go ahead and take your time and trim out the foams. After trimming out the edges, this is what I have. So the next thing is to cover this foam. So to cover my foam, I'm using my hairstay. So just go ahead and lay your hairstay, make it double, as in fold it, so when you cut out, you are going to have two pieces of hairstay for one foam. So I'll go ahead and cut it out right now. So I'm cutting everything out, as you can see. So after cutting, I'm going to lay the hairstay, the sticky part on the foams, and I'll go to my ironing table and iron it out. So I'll do the same for the rest of my foams. So I will lay each hairstay, because I have two pieces for each right now. So here I'm done. So I also labeled my up and down. Make sure you have your label. So I use my iron to press it down on the foam. So next is to sew round it. I'll go to my machine now. You can see me sewing 2 or 3 times on it to make it stable. So I'll sew all of them and then trim out their edges to make it neat as well. So I'm going to do that for all the foams, trim out the edges after sewing 2 or 3 times. So after trimming out the pad, we'll go back to the 6 pieces panel. So this is my 6 pieces panel for the front. I've already cut it out like I said. But I want to explain something very important for this hip and butt padding. So if you are making a 6 pieces skirt, normally you will use your actual hip to cut it out. Then when you join it, you add your seam allowances. So but for this particular skirt, I used my hip circumference. Then I added 2 inches to it, then added my seam allowances. So my hip circumference is 48 inches. So because I'm using 0.5 inch my thickness of my foam is 0.5, and you know I cut out 4 pieces of my foam. I multiplied it by 4, so it gave me 2 inches. So I added 48 inches plus 2 inches. Okay, so 48 inches now plus the 2 inches will give me 50 inches. So my hip measurement, I used my 50 inches only on my hip measurement because of this padding. So I used the 50 inches to cut out both the fabric and the lining. So it's easier to use the 2 inches added to your hip circumference to cut your fabric and your lining. Then later on, we are going to reduce 0.5 inch from each panel of the side skirt. So this is my side skirt right now. So I will lift it up of my hip line and I'll take away 0.5 inch. So that is the explanation. So the lining is going to be shorter by 0.5 inch for this 6 pieces skirt. So the lining, I'm going to take it away, the 0.5 inch on my lining, as you can see here. So all I'm going to do now is to mark out the 0.5 inch. Then with my pattern ruler, I'm going to connect from the hip to the waist. Okay, so to the waist to nothing and to the knee to nothing. So the only affected area is the hip because of the foam. So we are cutting out the lining by 0.5 inch because of the foam. So I just explained to you how we got the 2 inches. The foam is 4 and multiply by 0.5 inch thickness of the foam. That is why we are cutting out the lining at 0.5. So I'm going to repeat the same thing for the back panel. This is my back panel. So I also go to the side of this skirt and I'll also take away 0.5 inch. So now I'm going to join my pad. So make sure you join it where we have the notch. So I'll just go ahead and join from beginning to the end right now. So I'll go to the machine and I'll stitch all around so this is what I have right here. So you can see I've joined the foam together. So now we will set the foam aside and we'll come back to the skirt. So now we are going to join the skirt, the front piece. We are going to join it. Normally we join center front to the side for our 6 pieces. So after joining, this is what I have. I'll also open up the seams and give it a good press. Then the same thing I'm going to do for my lining. I've joined it together. I'll also open up my seams and give it a good press. Then I'll go back to the back and I'll pick up the fabric and join fabric to fabric. And then I'm going to join lining to lining as well. So make sure you mark out the wrong side of your fabric. So now I will take it to the machine and I'm going to join all my panels. So I'm done joining the back panels together and it's remaining the zipper part. So for the zipper part, you can see my notches for the zipper. So I'll just go ahead now and I'm going to also, I've joined the lining as well. So if you are joining the front, join all the front. If you are joining the back, make sure you also join all the back. So my front is ready and I'm going to place the back panel to sew the side. So I'm going to sew the back panel which I joined right now. I'm going to join it on the right side to right side. Go ahead now to stitch my seam allowance. So whatever seam allowance you added, just go ahead and stitch it on the side of your skirts. Okay, so now I'm going to join this on my machine right now, and here I've joined this, so I have all the panels together for the front. So the front piece of this skirt is ready. The next you are going to do is to put it together and mark out your zipper allowance. So I'll be using a short zip for this and I'll be marking on top of the iron part. So from there I'll be adding my 1 seam allowance. I'll mark it from that point of my zipper to the end of this skirt. So I'll repeat the same exercise for the back panel, that is for the lining side. So the lining, I've also joined it on the side for the front and the back, as you can see. So now I'm going to reduce my lining. Like I said, we are going to sew this skirt full lining with a perfect inseam finishing. So just mark 1 inch and reduce your lining at 1 inch. So I'm going to reduce my lining from the beginning to the end of it right now. So here is my 1 inch and I'm going to cut it out, as you can see. So here you can see the lining is shorter by 1 inch on the length while the fabric is longer. So now we will now jump back to the hip padding. So come down by 2 inches because we have seam allowance of 0.5. Then you bring in the right side of this padding. Make sure you place it the right way. The longer part is for the back and the shorter part is for the front. So I'll go over to the machine now and you can see how I'm stitching. So just make sure you stitch right in between where you join the foam, and make sure you also spread out your seam. So you can see me spreading the seam of the lining. So this foam is going to be attached on the lining on the side. So you can see me opening up my seams and making sure I stitch exactly on the side on the seam. So when I get to the end, I'm going to back stitch at that point. Next is to turn it to the right side and spread all the fabric. So make sure you spread your fabric the way I'm spreading it and follow the shape of the padding. So you can see me spreading and following the shape of the padding. So I'll keep following the shape and I'm going to sew round from the back panel of the skirt to the front panel of the skirt. So here I've completed it and you can see what my padding looks like. So I did that for the both sides. So the next thing we are going to do now is to sew the zipper point. So just like I marked for the fabric, I've already marked 1 inch from my zipper point at the center back. So here I've stitched the front panel, that is the fabric, and I made a notch at the knee line. So I'm going to give it a good press on the center back area, then attach my zip. My zipper, I attached it, as you can see. So here is my zipper. Your normal way of attaching your zipper, just go ahead and sew your zipper on the fabric alone, turn it to the wrong side, then the front piece of the lining, just insert it from the under piece. So here I'm going to insert my lining right now after giving your seams a good press. So here the center back, I'm going to open up the zipper and insert the right side of the lining to the right side of the fabric, as you can see. So I'm going to lift up the center back area, match the seam line to seam line from the center back. So go ahead and use your pin and secure all the seam lines. So I'm securing all the seam lines on the hem part because we are going to sew the lining and the fabric together at 0.5 inch. So here I'm done sewing. So the next thing now is to top stitch. So I'm going to put my hand inside and flip all the seams to the part of the lining. Then I'll go to my machine and top stitch. So here after top stitching, I gave it a good press. So you can see how beautiful it's looking with a perfect inseam finishing. So for our zipper, this is how you are going to finish up your zipper. Just fold it as if you have sewn it and turn it around and secure with your pin. So I'm going to follow the stitches I already made. So I've secured with my pins right now. So I'm going to follow the stitches I already have for my zipper for the fabric. With my zipper foot, I'm going to sew to the end. So I'm going to repeat this same process for the other side. So here you can see my zipper is looking neat and beautiful. So next is to match the upper piece together, and I sew my band with elastic. So if you want to know how I sew this skirt completely with band and elastic, click on the link on the description box below to follow up the 6 pieces tutorial. So I believe our skirt is very beautiful. So thank you for watching, and if you have not subscribed, why not subscribe right now? Like this video, share to family and friends, and turn on your notification bell to receive videos like this every day. Thank you once again, and see you in the next class. Bye.